Rise and grind, Arlington. We're kicking off the elimination bracket. It's Championship Sunday. I'm Clutch, joined by the legend Dave Walsh, and we have a match that traditionally isn't for a top three between Optic Gaming and Spacestation here. And I mean, just getting into this series, Dave, so much history. Both these two teams were in every grand finals outside of the one phase one last year. Obviously the rosters are different, but we're used to seeing the banners of the gold and the green clash in grand finals. Not gonna be this time, or the case this time around. And as we look at these two teams, the journeys to get here, both fell to the hands of Shopify Rebellion, but both have had different roads throughout the elimination bracket that I think we need to talk about getting into this series. Optic Gaming, reverse sweeping Nemesis last night. What did you see from them that made the difference, that turned this ship around and got them to this point?
I felt like we saw members of Optic not overthinking and just stepping up and slaying. We saw the likes of Renegade and Bound specifically in games number 3 and 4 against Nemesis, where they just took over. And that's the scary potential that you have on this Optic roster that we see glimmers of. There's times where we see them all clicking and all slaying and doing things right, but there's also times where we see them cowering in a corner like we saw against the first series against Nemesis.
No time to waste here on Championship Sunday. We're jumping right into game 1. It's gonna be Streets Oddball. And for me, coming in and seeing the map layout for these two teams, I feel like SSG's oddball game has been lackluster against the big dogs of the league, the Shopifys and the Optic Gamings, at least through scrims, at least through online results. What can we see from Space Station to change that story around? We're gonna start this one with Formal and see how he kicks off Championship Sunday with a bang.
And look at this, right off the gate, we're gonna have Space Station try to grab that ball before a single kill is acquired. That can sometimes be good because you can bait other players into a death like they just got with Lqgend, but sometimes that can also be bad if you give it that first free death. And there are the first 8 points going on the board here for SSG, but that's 3 members down, SnakeBite the only one left.
SnakeBite's gonna be by himself, but I believe only one member of Optic threw that oddball. The other member of Optic just snuck away with camo. Lqgend gets the first power up of the game, but great damage from SnakeBite, capitalized on respawners from Space Station to take down Lqgend. That camo gets nullified. Ball still neutralized. It's an 8-0 lead for Space Station, so they are rewarded with a little bit of comfort. Nobody wants to pick up that ball until round of slays come through, and SSG do go 2 down, so look for Optic to regain the lead here shortly.
Yeah, Lucid trying to push through. He knows that 2 are down, knew where the ball carrier's at, but did not know Renegade lurking over near the Bulldog. Gonna bark and bite right there, taking him out.
The ball's in PD. Renegade gets information that SnakeBite's sliding in. Lqgend does go down. So it is going to be Space Station closest to this ball. Renegade makes his way over here. A one-on-one between Renegade and SnakeBite. Renegade doesn't want to take that one-on-one. Does get behind SnakeBite, but StelluR saves his life. StelluR makes a big play. StelluR finds 2. StelluR finds 3. And now SSG will begin to build this lead. This is the StelluR we need on Championship Sunday if this series is going to be the great one we think it is.
Yeah, so many times, even though StelluR has won MVP, we're like, sometimes he gets slept on for no reason. Maybe he doesn't have as flash of play with his personal POV going as quick around the map, but you see him consistently hit those no-scopes, consistently doing the right thing and coming up big when his team needs him.
The quiet killer, some say, is 34-4 now. Space Station get the lead off that StelluR triple kill. The ball gets played by the middle. Second camouflage coming up. Shroud makes this a very difficult situation for Lqgend to try and sift through. He is able to get 1, make it 2. The oddball's going to be the point of focus here as they want to get right back into this game. They're going to start to chunk away at this lead. Lqgend has his second camo of the game, so good prioritization there, good round of slays as the power-up's coming up.
And look at that rotation from Lqgend. Going over towards PD to block those spawns. The second that he notices his teammate spawns in PD, he rotates back. Leaves B Street open so they can set up a trap here if anyone decides to push on over towards the caution.
This is one of those moments where SSG, I feel like, have struggled. Can they break the setup quickly? So often do we see massive leads from SSG, and so often do we see them get away. Can they get the slays? The push comes through from Cafe. They're able to get a couple of kills, but the last 2 for Optic still fighting back. It's going to be just Renegade now in a 1-on-2 situation. He's going to hit the bottom mid route, catches Eco from behind, able to get a quick kill, and SnakeBite trying to rotate this ball out. Renegade in a 1-on-1 now against SnakeBite. SnakeBite buying time for respawners on SSG, but Renegade looks to approach his respawners. The Shroud once again making things difficult, but Renegade still finds the backs to Space Station.
Renegade is so difficult to kill during chaotic situations. That was why it was a little surprising to me when we saw Optic step that last time where Lqgend had camo and they seemed to cower just over towards that side. They held someone over towards Heaven. They had him over towards the Lqgend. I'm surprised that they weren't taking up a little bit more ground when they had all the players alive.
Yeah, you think from Renegade's point of view, Optic's winning the fight, but it actually was SSG that wins that fight as well. They rotate the ball into PD, so they're going to continue to build what is now 54 points and climbing. The ball going to get played now that Optic has had time to respawn, get a solid push. Formal finds a red gun after finding a kill. 2 members of SSG go down, but a great play ball neutralizes really any ability for Optic to get any significant time back in their favor. And look at this, SSG gonna have perfect sight lines off respawn to try and compete. Formal last guy alive, and SSG already on top of that ball once again.
SSG have been so quick to grab that ball anytime it's been even in a neutral scenario, let alone an advantageous scenario. So great job for SSG to take advantage of any time they can get it. But at the same time, scrapping a couple seconds here and there isn't going to be the meaningful amount. It's more about getting some of those larger chunks of time like we've seen from Optic Gaming.
It's not massively, but SSG have done a phenomenal job to keep the ball away from Optic Gaming, even when they've gotten outslayed in some of these situations. The ball coming into Tram, that's another 10 seconds at the very least. Lucid going to try and create some space and get in Renegade's face. It's a killing spree from Lucid, exactly what the doctor ordered for SSG fans.
And look at this, Lucid trying to take more ground, but realizing that B and Rails has been taken over by Optic Gaming. Now it looks like he's trying to clear a path for the ball, potentially rotate through Neons, but Formal has something else to say about it.
Hell of a nade from Formal to knock down Lucid. Lucid had so much map control there. All of Cafe was on lock until Formal hit that grenade. The ball not getting played nearly as well this time around is going to allow Optic off these slays to get it back into Tram, but you have a lot of time to make up.
This has now happened against Spacestation twice. Spacestation gets a set near PD, or they get a set near Tram, and they aren't able to get the ball far enough away so that Optic are able to get those kills and get a set of their own in that ideal location.
They sniff Legend out. Those grenades made Legend no shield. They're able to trade it out. And now Renegade by himself with the ball. SnakeBite versus Renegade. Old teammates find new clashes here in the back of Tram. Renegade coming out on top, and that's going to reward him with more ball time. Still down 20 seconds, though, so Optic have work to do in round 1 still.
Look at that. Renegade scrapping up all this time. Decides to revert back towards Tram and see if he can get some slays. When in doubt, slay it out is definitely the game plan for some of these players, because if you get those kills, the rest of your teammates will grab that objective and take care of everything else.
A 4-on-2 right now on the map for Spacestation Gaming. They're going to be able to get the ball, get it back in Tram, and with 77 points and climbing, Optic have 1 push. Any kill that could stagger Optic respawners would be big, but SnakeBite's the first to drop. Optic look like they have an opportunity to break this setup before this game ends.
Now we have to see how Spacestation decide to play this. Do they try to rotate and get this away, or do they go for kills and try to disallow Optic from getting a full setup? That's one pick, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Good
StelluR
stick.
gets another stick, though. That will be enough. Optic will not be able to get a setup in Tram at this time, even though they have camo.
Highway robbery as StelluR picks up 2. That makes the defense from Optics so much less of a fortress of what it would have been. Formal, though, with this camo, trying to make the decision. Does he need to pick up the ball? Does he need to slay? Well, Spacestation's here, and now Formal gets some solid damage, and I love this rotation by Formal. A perfect throw to his teammate. Camo does run out, but a good rotation of the oddball will reward Optic with some much-needed time to get back into this.
And just with that spawner positioning by SnakeBite over at A Tower, it stops Optic from making the rotation. They wisely play the ball into the court, but they're stuck in a difficult position. They're all stuck on B. They're getting pinched from both sides.
Yeah, Optic had 2 down, but a big win, I believe, from Bound right there as Eco gonna slow this one down, play on the stairs, knows that multiple members of Optic are gonna be passing through the driveway. Multiple members of Optic all pass through by Eco. The routes don't match up, but 96 and climbing. You need 4 points. SnakeBite able to drop towards the trash cans, and Eco's got over his shoulder. Nobody from Optic can get there, and round 1 will go to Spacestation.
What an insane scrappy setup there by Spacestation, realizing that they put the pressure onto Optic there. That was not a setup that was going to work out well for Spacestation in the long run. They knew that they just wanted to scrap up those last few seconds and close out round number 1.
Spacestation starts off hot here in game 1. Exactly what you wanted to see if you want this series to go the distance, because you know Optic are capable of coming back from any deficit. They've proven that throughout this weekend. A beautiful start for Optic Gaming here as they kick it off with 3 straight kills. They are the ones that prioritize the early off all time. They're going to get the early camo as well. And at 25 points in climbing, if Bound can make a play with this camo, this second round could get ugly.
Bound just spotting out every single player he can there. I loved also how after he dodged that very first grenade on the camo pickup, he decided to go towards the edge of the shroud and then just spot out where all these players were going. Many times after someone grabs that camo, It's just a predictive nade over towards ATM and your spot.
Renegade finds a double on the kill feed. Lucid trying to hunt down this player back tower. It is Renegade that he's finally able to take down, but the damage is done. 3 go down for Spacestation. That ball not in the hands of Optic right now, but a beautiful lead for Optic Gaming at 37-0. You'll take that after the round 1 performance that we just witnessed.
And now with that 37-second lead, Optic have 3 down again, and they got a tram set up. I should say Lucid has something else to say about that. Taking 2 down, but still, this is still a time where Optic can grab this time if they would like, but it can be very uncomfortable if you have 2 down, because the last thing you want to do is give Spacestation a full set to get back in this game.
Lqgend in pure warfare knocks 2 players to no shield, trying to play his life, going every angle, trying to cut off where Spacestation is putting him. Can't stay alive though, and because of it, 2 members of Optic go down, followed by 2 members of Spacestation. Great trades across the board, but here comes Lucid once again. Out of the tires, into your face, able to find 1. Big shots from Lqgend will take down Lucid, and trades across the board are going to benefit Optic Gaming in a moment where this ball, not in a particularly safe place, it is going to be rotated towards B, but with Camo coming up, that's got to be the priority for both teams. Oh my God.
Camo up definitely being the priority, but we now see ball back in the hands of Spacestation. They're in a similar setup to before where it's not fully set up over at Tram. I want to go to a Spacestation listening to hear how they're going to rotate this ball and take advantage of the situation.
2 shot, front trash now. Front trash traded. Yeah. Check it out.
I'm gonna die. 2 on me. 1 front trash, ball guy's trash, 1 more C.
Can look B1 here.
Enemy halfway to victory.
Probably go.
Coming out.
Gonna be tired soon.
I'm gonna slide, yo.
No.
Ivy bound, weak. 2 shot, 1 shot Ivy, 1 shot C bound.
Walking out.
1 shot back Ivy, he's on the plants, Tommy, 1 shot. B-roll guys, B-roll driveway, I think. Yo, disruptor and C bound. 2 shot disruptor.
Disruptor. 1 shot back Ivy and top Ivy. There's 2 in there.
Disruptor, I don't see anything.
He crashed.
Enemy team nearing victory.
Oh, we're playing so fucking good, boys. Keep it up.
What was it for?
Defeat.
Not the listening we wanted as a player. Unfortunately, no longer in the server with us, but he'll be back shortly, I'm sure. But that round 2, Dave, let's talk about it. Optic, a much stronger performance there. And what did you see that really made the difference between rounds 1 and round 2 from Optic Gaming?
I saw Optic not afraid to get that ball before having the perfect scenario. It felt like previously in round number 1, Optic would wait till they have 2, 3 down and all 4 of them alive to grab that ball and rotate it. Sure, that's a great time to grab the ball, but to beat a team that you're going near even in slays with, you have to find more advantages. You have to find more opportunities. You need to grab that ball sometimes where even if it's a 2-on-2 and you say, well, we know the 2 of them are across the map. Let's grab this ball. Let's grab 5 seconds to rotate it from tram to driveway and
Towards
then reassess.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think that that's something we saw SSG doing so well in round 1. It's something that I think we should talk about is the prioritization on the objective itself. How quickly they went for the oddball at the start of the round. How often do you see teams not choose to just duke it out and the winner of the slays gets rewarded with the early time? It was SSG that said, you guys can fly around the map wherever you want. We'll take the first 8 seconds, we'll bring it back towards my homies over at Tower. And from there, we'll try to duke it out and play around it. And it honestly worked for SSG. Maybe it caught Optic a little off guard of how willing and how desperate of an objective focus we saw from SSG early on. A much better solution, I think, or at least result there in round 1 than we've seen in previous oddballs from SSG.
That was the only concern I had going into round 2 is it felt like SSG made the perfect play at the end of the game. They scrapped up those 10 seconds, they read the positions perfectly, got the kills, delayed, and closed out that round 1. However, that's a very it's a very specific situation. You can't do that throughout the rest of the game. You can't worry about scrapping up some of those 5 seconds and then lose 2 or 3 players throughout that time.
Right.
You need to get back in the mentality, yes, and that's okay to do at the end of game or as time is, ticking against the opposing team. You can't do that earlier on, and so I want to see Spacestation get back in their comfort flow of getting some slays, getting a little bit more control, and rotating the ball and getting a near full setup. Bring it back towards PD, bring it back towards Tram. They seemed viable in either of those locations. They took whatever positions they had, used it to their fullest. I would love to see that again versus the scrappiness.
As we wait for the game to get underway or back underway, we'll get an official result as to what the score is going to be between the two teams. I'm sure it looks like it's going to be 70-28 here in round 2. Keep in mind that SSG is up a round, so this round 2 is only to push this to a round 3 if Optic are to win, but they will have a very comfortable 42-point advantage. I did the math right. I had to double check.
No, you got it.
Yeah,
I was just gonna point out.
Usually you're
one
the
thing
math guy, so when I did it, I was like, I just stepped out on a diving board I'm not sure I can walk back off of.
One thing that I found interesting, though, you said that SSG have been struggling a little bit in the oddball department. I almost wonder how that has to be for someone like SnakeBite. I felt like SnakeBite in his previous rosters, he was the oddball guy. Even though there's times where he'd be getting majority of slays and doing fairly well, we're seeing Eco pick up a lot of that time. We saw Eco and SnakeBite basically have the entire time of oddball for the SSG roster.
Yeah, and I think that probably is a healthy balance. I've always been a big fan of not having just
it can't just be one,
a specific oddball guy, because when he's down or he traded in a situation where he had to trade, it was a good thing that he traded a kill in this situation. Somebody else has got to be prioritizing that. So Eco, SnakeBite, you have to think that as this team develops, as this team grows stronger, oddball will be probably one of their stronger game types because their ability to always be objective-minded, making the correct decisions as far as their routes being taken towards that oddball, which we can't say for everybody. There's some players like Renegade, I don't want him with the oddball. I actually don't want him anywhere near the oddball. Like, go crazy, kid.
When your back's against the wall and coming back and making the right play, making that clutch play, you start to say, you know what, we ice up here. And you start to believe, you start to say, hey, get us this game 5, get us to the situation, and we know we'll clutch it up.
I can see the lobby starting to get created here. Dave, we saw a glimpse of game 1, just about half of it so far. The scrim results, Optic versus SSG, not great in SSG's favor, but have they showed you enough with the sample size that we have that this series has the potential to be a great one?
I do think so. My only fear, like I said, as we saw that round 2 start to develop, I felt like SSG were a little too focused on scrappiness and starting to get a little outslayed. And at this highest level of play, yes, we talk about objective efficiency. You can't let that go to the wayside. You have to take advantage when you can. But if you start to get significantly outslayed, that is a tall order to overcome in the efficiency department.
And I feel like that happens so quick when watching Optic Gaming. When that switch
start to get a couple down, 3 down, and all of a sudden it's so tough to reel that back.
The pace gets crazy. Something to note, talking to SnakeBite about just the dynamic of teams so far and with the stack rankings and whatnot. I know that SSG hasn't had winning results against Optic Gaming, but when talking to him, and he refers to Optic Gaming and he refers to Shopify, he says we match up much better with Optic Gaming so far throughout this first game. We've seen a good matchup. Will that continue to be the case? Ladies and gentlemen, we finally have this game kicking back off. The lobby loading in. And the green wall, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I know it's early on Sunday, but you guys have been quiet. I hadn't heard any Optic chants. I'm going to be the first one to call you guys out. I heard the straight ripping and final boss chants back in the day. I better have to cast through that if I had to play through some of y'all. I know y'all were there. Dave.
It helps knowing that you're the favorite up on the stage. There's no better feeling letting the other team know and letting your team know, have that confidence saying, hey, we're the good guys here in the story. Let's win this.
I loved being the bad guy, Dave. I loved ruining people's Sundays. Woke up with that mentality, and let's see if SSG can perform the same, or are the heroes here to provide a championship run. Renegade on screen, and he was on fire throughout the first round and a half that we saw. We see a 66-26 score line, so it's going to be a 40-point score for Optic Gaming, and combat ensues. Optic Formal, the first one to drop.
Also, the fact that Renegade can just run to the very side of the map, realizing nobody is staying down there. Either he read the SSG start perfectly, has been studying it, or he just knows how to sniff out the perfect opportunity every single time.
We said Renegade wasn't the player you want with the ball, but with such a big lead, Renegade makes a heads-up play. It's an even style map, but Renegade playing towards that ball, able to get this back up to a 78-26 point lead now, and now Spacestation has to play nearly flawless in order to try and come back in this round.
Yeah, that's going to be a Lucid camo, StelluR in control of the tram. This could be the setup that SSG need to bring this game closer.
We said it needed a camo and needed a full setup. Lucid's going to make his presence known. He's going to be able to get one, but with camouflage, you really want to be that third-party engagement because Lucid engages some first right there. He's going to get taken down. It is trades across the board, but Lucid, the respawner, is going to be actually the only person alive on the map in Optic Gaming now with the last setup of what should be round 2.
And also the fact that SSG weren't able to play ball it there. It felt like the two people furthest up, I want to say that was Eco and Lucid, kind of overextended or didn't do the damage they needed to. If they're playing that aggressive, it needs to pay off. And this is going to be Optic 3 points away from tying this round up. It's going to be 1-1 going into round 3.
Game 1 going to round 3. Optic making slight work of the rest of round 2 and kind of foretold that, kind of foreshadowed it with the way that Optic was playing in that round 2. But this is where all the marbles are game for game 1 here in this series. Renegade still the perspective we're going to hop on with. 3-0-1 at the end of that second round here. StelluR, once again, now that they've spawned back in PD, they're going to go straight for the oddball, a similar strat as round 1.
This could be difficult though. All these members of SSG are stuck over at caution in this corner. You're gonna have Optic be able to collapse in from multiple angles. Now can they secure the kills? It's gonna be 2 down for each side. This next battle is gonna be crucial.
SnakeBite versus Renegade, old teammates now going to work once again, and it's Renegade on top once again, but traded out by Lucid. Lucid trying to play his life. He knows that there's a player of Optic Gaming back here somewhere, but where will the timing happen? Lucid's gonna actually opt to help play for camo here. The player's gonna be bound top tower with the red gun. It's a trade for both, but Lucid getting some damage onto a third player. Plays that situation pretty well, but 3 go down for SSG in the meantime.
Yeah, Lucid played that great, but I wonder if SSG tried to just charge across the map too quick to give that help. Lucid wasn't the main target. The rest of his teammates ended up taking the hits.
Renegade now with this second camo of the game. Trying to find an opening here. It is going to be 2 down for SSG. Just formal down for Optic Gaming as Renegade gets information that Eco's back tower, but he's dealt with before Renegade can focus on him. Lucid gets caught out as well. It's a full clean team wipe as 2 members are now staggered coming off respawn. SnakeBite tries to push up. He is able to take down Lqgend, but Renegade trades it out once again and playing very well with this camo. The ball now in Optic's hands, rotating towards Cafe, and all of Spacestation will be degressed on the end of the map to where this should be Optic getting a significant lead.
Yeah, Optic trying to rotate this through, and Renegade has the flank behind enemy lines. And look at that, Ego decides to back down. Renegade sniffing this out, saying, okay, they let me go. He always does such a good job of dancing just right on the edge of danger. He knows that when he can push his advantage or when he has to back away and run. That's what makes him such a dangerous flanker.
Great shots on the Lucid there, but as I say that, Lqgend picks up the second camo of the game. He goes down. 4 go down for Optic. That ball time did not amount to much for Optic Gaming, so SSG quickly back in the lead and with a full setup of their own.
Okay, let's see how they decide to play this. Do they want to get aggressive on a side, prep rotation, or are they holding their ground? They know 2 players on B. StelluR goes down. Also, Lucid falls. This ball cannot be played. Eco's just gonna have to try to get a trade here, but it's gonna be a full clean wipe there. Optic killing all 4 and taking no casualties.
And look how progressed Lqgend is on the map here. 29-20 setup and PD. Lqgend already at top B rail. It's gonna be difficult for Spacestation to get out of tram. They're gonna have to deal with Lqgend first, but he's playing an angle right here where he will have someone looking over his shoulder. Gonna look to get aggro here. SnakeBite's gonna be the first one to fall as he loses the one-on-one to Lqgend. It is traded out, but Renegade in the kill feed finds his own, and now Eco under hot pressure from B rail once again. It's 4 down once again for SSG. Optic's setup stays strong for the first round of Slays.
And just look at this difference in setups. You saw Spacestation kind of sticking near PD, holding heaven, barely pushing towards B, whereas when Optic had the chance, they pushed all the way towards B rail. They made it difficult for Spacestation to even push outside of tram.
In this reset, Renegade is 12-2-3. He is in championship form, and when that happens, Renegade wins championships. Right now, finding out Eco inside rep, but everyone from Spacestation has overwhelmed the Cafe side of the map. They've been able to kill the ball carrier. Renegade has to get back and try to compete for this neutralized ball. A beautiful plasma grenade is going to take down StelluR. You cannot hide behind those flowers with that nade on that ledge.
That is such a good nade.
Renegade takes his time. I love the taking the time after it to not make sure you push, but as I say that, does get a little distracted by that off ball, is traded out, and 3 go down for Optic Gaming. Last player alive, Lqgend. He's doing his best, but his best isn't good enough for 3 members of SSG, and the ball back now in SSG's hands.
Oh, look at here. We have Spacestation taking up more ground this time. They know a player pushed over towards ATM, but I like this play by StelluR. Getting behind enemy lines. He knows all the players are spawn, so he's not worried about blocking a spawn, but now he has to actually do the damage. Gets taken out by Bound. So does Lucid. Lucid falls. This is trouble. It feels like there's so many times where Spacestation gets a setup, and they sometimes try to push the advantage, but 2 players just fall too quickly.
How does Eco play this camo? This is such an important camo in this series, 66-38. You still have a little bit of it left. Respawners are going to be coming behind here. He's able to trade out. That will make the setup of Optic Gaming weaker, but you never want to trade when you have a power-up like Camouflage. Couldn't quite wait long enough for his teammates. It's a 2v2 on the map now. Renegade picks up a big kill on the SnakeBite, flying into PD. Lucid trying to trade it out, but in the meantime, Lucid's going to get traded out because he has to try to capitalize on SnakeBite's damage here. The ball's in the courtyard, Bound, trying to clear PD, doesn't quite spot StelluR immediately, but eventually takes him down, and then immediately tries to get back into the courtyard where he goes down. Pure chaos taking down in the courtyard right now, as no time can really be allocated to either team, and that ball will reset soon.
Yeah, when there's players at A and the other team has PD, you can't really scrap up time there. It's just gonna be a fight to see who makes the misstep and who can secure these kills. Looks like Renegade taking over towards to help clear out A. SnakeBite finally getting the better of him. Felt like Renegade these past couple engagements always taking out SnakeBite.
It's gonna be a long series and a lot of fights between those two members of SSG spotted towards the cafe, and Lqgend deals with both of them. Good help from Bound to be able to get some initial damage, and that's gonna be Lqgend's key to get this ball, and he chooses to take it tires. Is this a mistake? No, he turns the corner, no shield, and that's gonna be more time awarded to Optic Gaming. 83-38 now. SSG with SnakeBite on respawn have got to push because this round will end, this game will end in Optic's favor.
Yeah, looks like Lqgend still just grabbing that time. They're letting Spacestation panic and try to sprint towards it. They're not able to get the pick. SnakeBite has no choice but to charge towards the ball, and it's going to be GG, number 1, going towards Optic Gaming.
Rounds 2 and 3 go to Optic in dominant form, and Optic Gaming close out that map 1 in their favor. And they looked like a different team, I say, between round 1 and rounds 2 and 3. Very consistent play, and I think they were led by Renegade the whole way. His 1v1 pivotal fights and the fact that he is forcing multiple members of SSG to try and focus on him after he's already gotten a kill creates so much opportunity for the rest of the boys.
Absolutely. It just felt like every single time that there would be a chaotic situation, those members of Optic would get that double kill, grab the ball, and they almost kind of let Spacestation do the overextensions, Spacestation be the engagers. And it felt like a lot of times that Spacestation would rely on each other too much and they would fall in quick succession.
Yeah, staggered respawners was a big part of that second half of the game. It's so difficult when a team like Optic Gaming gets you 4 down and also has 4 members on the map. How progressed Lqgend was on that B rail, specifically that one play, that is such a difficult setup to try and break on the side of SSG. You saw them try several different ways, whether it was down the spike stairs, whether it was up driveway, so many different options that Optic have to be able to flex towards and break you down. And once they get that first pick, these guys smell blood in the water better than anybody. They make sure 1 turns into 2, which turns into 4 very quickly.
Yeah, they did such a great job every single time at the end, but once again, partially in this lane department, felt like those opening kills is what created those opportunities. But this next game, it's all StelluR. We can't talk about any objective besides getting those kills. And it's gonna be StelluR on live fire between these 2 squads. What do you think about that one?
StelluR on live fire, I mean, this is going to be, it could go 2 ways, in my opinion. You have the S7, and I think it really does rely on whose hands does that fall into? Does it fall into an Eco's hands where the game will slow down to a stalemate and you allow Eco to get picks? Or does it fall into someone like Renegade's hands and all of a sudden now you're getting full court press and he's using it as a shotgun rather than a sniper? So often do we see the S7 being the tone setter, I feel like, for the pace of this game. And if I'm on SSG, Dave, I want this game to be a methodical game. I don't want this to be off respawn, I'm sprint G-sliding into combat to try and third-party the action that's already going on. How do you slow down Optic Gaming is the big question.
That's a great question, because I do feel like we didn't really get to see that answer as much on Streets. Yes, Streets can play a little bit quicker, and the map's a little bit shorter, so you can fly across, but here on live fire, I mean, there's a few different areas you can run and escape, but you at some point might just be delaying your demise. You might just be saying, all right, yeah, I go in rat tunnels, but they have so many times and they can push in through key door, through dummy door, through pillar door. There's just too many avenues that they can come down and finish you. So at some point it's going to be, can you out damage in the positions that you're at? Because I do see a lot of times where we're at these stalemates that Optic is putting out more shots, hitting more shots than SSG.
We talk about a team that thrives off confidence, off momentum. Optic Gaming have grabbed momentum now here in this series after a dominant 2 and 3 rounds in oddball. Game 1 goes in their favor, and they've got to be feeling a little bit more confident, a little bit more awake, and ready to go on this run. They still have 2 games to win to put down SSG here in the elimination bracket. And let's start this one off with Bound and see if he's going to set the tone here in Game 2, and what can Spacestation do against the pace that he is known to put on.
Wow, must be some sort of error. I see a lot of people just jumping around, so we'll probably get this one restarted in just a second.
Yeah,
we'll get a rule for the TO, but I assume this will be just a fresh restart.
An untraditional starting strat would be back turned towards where the enemy spawned and G sliding towards the scoreboard. So bear with us once again. Optic Gaming fans, I know they're nipping at the bits to get this one underway. They want to see how Bound plays live fire, and that's a match made in heaven, in my opinion. We talk about Frosty and Origin and Coliseum, historic plays that get made by those individuals on these maps. Dave, I'm sure you had like Derelict or
like some old map, I don't know, library. What do you guys got? What did you play back then?
What you guys play back then? But in all reality, I think live fire, your ability to rotate some of the G slides that you can hit to be so fast and impactful in a completely different part of the map than where you just were 2 seconds ago. Watching Bound move around this map, I think it's just a one-to-one, like a one-to-one fit as far as like perfect map for this guy's play style to be the greatest impact, play at the highest level of Halo that we have. So I love the idea of being able to kick back off with him when we get an opportunity to start this game back up.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, I remember seeing something like Lucid, Season 1 specifically, on live fire. It just felt like when he was previously on Optic, they had set the bar as to how this map should be played. They were the ones that were fully exploring the sandbox. They were the one using utility and equipment like no other. Now, can we see, does the old strategies and the old innovators, can they hang out with the new guys? Yeah. Someone like Bound, who's flying a little bit quicker. Someone like Lqgend, who's hit ridiculous no-scopes on this map.
Kyle Elam on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. National champion himself, U.S. champion. Is that what the title was that he got?
The free-for-all was, I believe, U.S. or national champion. I forget what it was called.
Well, he won a national championship on straight ripping, a U.S. champion. This guy's a winner. Won a bunch of, a part of all the banners holding above our heads here in this arena. As SSG's year last year is nothing to be forgotten, and now the two teams playing against each, or the two sides playing against each other here in this series. You know, both sides won another banner. They're always going to be hungry for more championships. Game 2 loading up, and it's an even fight here. 0-0, no harm, no foul, no momentum gained, but Optic sure feeling good after that Game 1. Let's kick it off with Bound. He's going to choose to hit the bottom mid route right now.
Different route this time, yeah.
He's going to run into SnakeBite, wants to repulse up top mid. That snipe is gone, probably in the hands of his teammates if he's not looking behind him. And SnakeBite able to trade with Bound out, but Renegade already has that snipe top tower, and this could be bad news bears for the SSG fans.
Yeah, this can be tough to get his hands, or even if he starts getting the follow-up kills, he can jump this one off real quick. He doesn't know a player's right there, though. I don't know if that flew off. It had an interesting trajectory. Very well could have flown off the map.
I think it stayed on the map. SnakeBite should have that snipe, but in the meantime, Formal was able to pick up that camo. Great trades out of SSG. I do want to go into an Optic Gaming listen in here and see how the boys are feeling after that Game 1 win and as Game 2 kicks off.
Bottom middle and on W. Yeah, bottom middle on W.
Oh my god. What's up, up on C, careful.
I'm going game.
One can be on map. One spot.
Nest.
Lucid, absolutely. Running away top mid. He's like top cuts.
Tower.
Top tower.
Where's so good?
Yo, one cut.
I'm gonna go.
Elbow weak.
Okay, I'm
Wait,
gonna...
David down.
One trap on third. Oh my god!
One check it. Lucid. I don't know.
Dummy.
That's not it. Two guys
Tiki.
That's not killer. We should play right side, John, maybe.
I heard.
Bottom in 20.
More weak.
Yeah, don't take us. We make you play right side.
Okay, I'm gonna go come back to mid. Bound right? Come here.
Okay, back.
If I one shot and bigger, sorry, big.
Walking, come mid, bound. Come mid, one.
He might play for.
He's like in the
Cypher
vent.
here.
Go right, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to you, Chevy.
Back me. Pillar's killing me still.
Go bigger. I'm behind big.
Yo, please one.
Probably OS or tower.
See, boys.
Nice guys, camo guys.
Pillar. He's on one.
Did he go bottom? Yo, bottom middle, one shot pillars. Fuck, he come me. One shot bottom middle, going Keter. Keter one shot, man. Yeah, he's on the jump, he jumped over it.
Shoot.
He has one.
And one sniper also.
Okay, sniper's next, guys. Sniper in 20.
Yeah, here it is.
I'm secure.
You make a play before the time comes out?
Just play tank here on this camo.
Yeah, they have camo, man.
I'm trying to go.
Right,
Nest weak eagle. One play back to two.
Take her down. Three play. They all aped it. Three.
Push again.
In A, yeah. One's in A cellar.
Right here, right.
Top eight, 2A still. Good job. Get out. You look at John, turn on. Quick two.
That sniper going out.
John, America back.
And after that listening, we're starting to hear how they're coordinating during some of these fights and some of those battles. It was interesting. You heard them wanting to make a play before that camo or before that sniper came up. But it seemed like Spacestation had the exact same idea. It was three of them came flying over towards bags.
And they're looking like the Avengers when they hit that A plant right there, melted Renegade in that situation, but a close game. 3 kills separate the two. SSG in the lead for now, but Formal has gotten the second sniper of this game. He's backed up in the house, and the game kind of slows down. Does Formal find a pick, though? I don't believe anyone from SSG is going to be trying to hit top middle. I say that. Nico's going to poke his head out, get the information that Formal's there. And Formal with the overchow. Eco just sitting him down right there is massive. Eco gets damage onto a second, able to get traded out. And Formal going to regret chowing that for now, but it looks like Optic Gaming have done a good job to minimize the damage here and actually made some of the deficit up. Just a 1-kill game, Renegade with snipe in hand.
Yeah, and I'm actually still surprised that Optic were able to get away with the sniper, especially given that play that Spacestation made towards bags. Usually if you're making that play right before a sniper comes up, 5 to 10 seconds before, and you get that first pick, you're able to go back, grab that sniper, and go whichever direction you'd like, but I don't know exactly what happened after that bags play.
Renegade, 5 bullets in the chamber. A repulse in his back pocket. He's going to be a thorn to try and deal with here. It's going to be very difficult to push him. Where is SSG allocating the resources to? They are dropping on the map a little bit as Renegade hadn't spotted any combat here. He is going to poke out big door Tommy. Wilson, you jiggle. You peek, I teach, Renegade says as he rips out Lucid's face there. He's going to just continue to anchor this tower position. Space Station don't seem to have an answer just yet. Camo is coming up, and they will be forced to make a play.
Just like that, Renegade always finding the sneaky angles, knowing where people aren't going to challenge him, where people might be peeking out. I like this. He knows camo's got to be a focus. Now SSG has to decide, do they go straight for this camo, or do they have to get an angle on Renegade first? And wisely, they get some shots on Renegade first. However, that grenade from Bound takes out Lucid. That's going to be 2, make that 3 down. So without even the snipes getting picks here, Optic racking up so many kills on the board.
Yeah, Lqgend 14, 3, and 9 right now, but Bounds found the camouflage after that round of slays from Optic, and they're able to push it to a 4-kill lead for themselves now with all of the power in their hands. Multiple members of SSG stuck back green and trying to spot Bound out, but he's playing for the one-shot, plays the situation perfectly, and finds an unanswered double kill to extend the lead to 6.
And this has just been falling apart at the end here for Space Station. They were neck and neck the entire time, but after that sniper started to get settled down, you realize Space Station started giving up all the higher locations of the map. They're kind of fighting all these individual battles. And look at that. That's all 4 down again for Space Station Gaming.
The routes by Bound have been perfect on this spree. as he now is 11, 2, and 7. Multiple members spawning back green, and it's doomsday at green right now as no one from SSG can find a kill. 45 to 32 now. Optic, 5 kills to go up 2-0 in the series.
This one is tough. I don't really know how SSG gets out of this. They somehow need to first stop the bleeding and get a clean spawn without dying. But secondly, needs to get the sniper, rotate through spawns. It is absolutely looking like it's going to be a 2-0 start here for Optic Gaming in the series.
3 kills to go. Formal snipe in hand. Gets a nice body shot on the SnakeBite, trying to peek over the dice. Gets a nice headshot on the Eco peeking A plat. Formal not missing shots. The rest of the team does their job, and Optic gain the series lead 2-0.
Every single time Optic got those slays, they'd push that advantage. They rolled it into the next spawn trap. And they would always be one step ahead as well. It's not like they would just be focused only on those green spawns. I saw at the very end there, SnakeBite got a garage spawn, trying to help his teammates over from that big door and shoot towards Nest. But just as that time was going on, Lqgend rolls through the garage, hits him from the side, and continues those kills. So you gotta wonder at some point throughout those chaotic times, feels like Spacestation needed to pick a target and fight or need to defend for their own lives. They don't need to all die together every single battle.
Yeah, and it was honestly a weird situation where the game was neck and neck. Renegade gets sniped at tower, and he's not doing too much. I mean, he's got a lot of presence and a lot of space, but it's his teammates picking up unanswered kills ahead of him, and he's not even like a part of this combat loop for such a long time as several kills are going in their favor. From SSG's side, I said maybe they can slow the game down, but it seems like at the times the game slowed down, it benefited Optic Gaming more.
Yeah, it went poorly. I think one challenge that you have is when your team slows it down, you have to learn when can you pick it back up. As you saw right there, it's a 29-31 game, only a 2-kill lead. But all the rest of these kills, as you're talking about, Wes, came out from pretty much everything except for the snipe. It felt like all these members from Spacestation saying, all right, well, I don't want to be the first to poke out. I saw Lucid guy's head ripped off over at Big Door, and they never found a time that they could really push out except for when they're running off a spawn.
Yeah, that being said, there was a lot of power up and power weapon control done by Optic. Never did we really get an opportunity to see SSG with the snipe in hand for very long. It was always a comfortable anchor opportunity that Optic could always rely on as far as, hey, back tower, dummies, bridge is all clear. Like, Renegade saw nobody for a very long time. Then you see Formal with the snipe. He's hitting, yeah, the shots he should hit, but nothing flashy, nothing special, not a highlight reel by any means. Optic just playing high-level Halo, even without like having to do anything too incredible to create such a difference in the scoreline there.
Yeah, just suppressing everyone and getting the body shots when you need to, but yeah, they just played it right. And you're correct also there, Wes. Spacestation, I don't recall a period of time where they had sniper for more than 5 or 10 seconds or ever really got set up with it. Even the initial sniper we saw, Renegade, we weren't sure if that one flew off the map. We're pretty sure that flew off the map.
Yeah, I thought SnakeBite would be able to get it, and we never saw anybody else touch another sniper until the next one came up. So for sure, a massive change of events when that sniper does fall off the map. So great call by you, obviously. King of the Hill is going to be the name of the game for Game 3. It's Recharge King of the Hill. And what gives you hope as an SSG fan looking at this from what we've seen so far, if anything?
I mean, it's tough because it feels like it's gotten kind of worse and worse. You saw what I felt was the best of SSG in round 1 on Streets Oddball. Ever since then, it's kind of just gone downhill a little bit by little bit. You saw Optic kind of reverse sweep that game 1 on Oddball Streets. It wasn't really that close in the round 3. As that StelluR progressed, it was even to the middle point, but some point when Optic has every single sniper, they're going to take off at some point. Sure, you might be able to hold them for a little bit. You might be able to challenge. You might be able to take out a sniper or two. They did, yeah, they traded out Renegade once. They traded out Formal once with a great challenge by Eco. But at some point, they're going to hit their shots and they're going to pull away. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't know what the exact change we need to see from SSG in this point is, but somebody's got to start winning their fights. Somebody's got to stop worrying about dying together. There's so many times where I see them focused on an angle, like whether it's angled towards Nest, and all these players just trying too hard to work together. At some point, when things are chaotic, you need people's instincts to kick in, saying, all right, I'm going to go here, and if I run to a flanker, I'm going to win my one-on-one and then rejoin this fight.
Right, and the words of Frosty yesterday as Shopify was in and listening against Optic, guys, start taking more pivs.
Yes. those individual fights, or what should I say, those standoffish fights where people are battling from a distance, they're choosing that battle because it's a safe spot that they can back away from.
Right, you're never going to kill that guy.
You aren't going to get them unless they overextend, which they likely don't do at this high-level play, or somehow you get the perfect double team. Where the real kills are going to happen is all the background noise that's taking place, all the people that are lurking about and trying to get an angle and joining that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man, it's tournament life on the line for SSG. Optic 1 win away from another step towards righting the wrongs and figuring out the path to winning this championship. And I can't wait to get it started. The players, obviously, after game 2, they take their breaks. What's going through the minds of Optic Gaming? I feel like we touched on it a little bit, but it really does feel like this squad relies on momentum, energy, like confidence. And to be going through game 1 like it happened, start slow, figured it out, got the ball rolling. Game 2, really got the ball rolling. Game 3, this one could get ugly if Optic are feeling themselves like I think they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Optic started the elimination bracket after that loss to Shopify, they've had the same mentality. It's one game at a time, one series at a time. They didn't want to start here, but they're here and they said, hey, let's do this. If you put us in the elimination bracket this early, we are making this run. And they're just going to take it game by game, step by step, battle by battle. And right here, it's just another one on another team in their way, on their path to victory here in Dallas.
The bad blood between the roster breakup, the decision to break up the world champions of 2024 here. And it looks like Bound and Eco now having a leg up here, at least for now. Will Eco and StelluR be able to answer the ring of the bell here at the first major and make this an interesting series? A reverse sweep here would be unheard of, but let's not even start thinking
I'm actually down to manifest that. I mean, like, I want to see a game 5. I don't know if it requires a full reverse sweep, but
yeah,
this series can absolutely go
game
the
5
distance.
is what I'm asking for. I agree with that.
But we need them to wake up. Obviously, they're in a difficult position here. But King of the Hill here on Recharge is going to be their only chance to keep their tournament life alive.
As we kick this game 3 off, I want to start with an SSG player. Is there anybody specifically that you want to lock in on and see very early on, with his tournament life on the line, does he step up and answer for his team?
Yeah, I want to start off with SnakeBite. He's been such a veteran. He started off so strong. He's been a critical role. He's one of the greatest Halo players of all time. And I have not been seeing him give the results that we need here when his team needs him the most. So let's kick it off with SnakeBite here as we go into this Game 3 King of the Hill on Recharge.
Sunday SnakeBite is traditionally a very scary individual to walk onto the server with. Optic have done their job so far to handle what he's brought to them, but kicking this off with him here, choosing to push towards the knee. We're trying to get eyes on Campbell, but there's a player just aping top middle, and that ape is not expected by anybody on SSG. He's immediately taken down by Renegade. 3 go down for Spacestation. You make it 4, and the pace of Optic continues into early game 3.
All 4, and just like that, Renegade finds the opening, sees anytime there's some timidness or an angle not watched by Spacestation, and just charges on through and creates that for his team.
So it's Formal with the first camo of the game. They choose to give him shock as well. Renegade had his option. They're going to choose to give it to Formal. Right now, trades across the board. Probably a good thing for SSG with the power on the map being owned by Optic, but now Pipes is being given up as well.
But one thing to take into account here, if you're an SSG fan, is even though Optic got those initial kills, they got the shock rifle, they got the camo, they don't have that much time here on this hill. You'd expect so much more to come out of that when you have a 9-to-5 kill lead and all these power-ups and power weapon leads. But I can see Optic trying to set the statement right now, saying, we are going to get more control, we're just going to outslay you so hard that we'll grab this when it's easier.
Formal starting to shoot like Formal does as he rips SnakeBite spawning back blue, rips Lucid, and creates an opportunity for a full setup for Optic Gaming. Now the progression going to get to about halfway. SSG still coming off respawn. Now the power is kind of out of Optic's control, but they have earned over half the first hill with it.
Yeah, so it started off as concern about their objective efficiency has been answered over those next 30 seconds. Formal and Renegade grabbing so much time in this, and look at this, almost uncontested. Nobody from Spacestation able to find these kills or find this damage. And that's gonna be first hill going in favor of Optic Gaming. What's a strong start.
Perfect. The snowball continues. 3 go down. Eco with 3 kills. SnakeBite, you asked to start off the game with him 0-1-5 right now. Can't find a rhythm. He has been spawn killed a few times by Formal with the shock rifle, and that plays into it, but gotta get his feet on the ground here or his tournament will be over.
There's a couple great grenade kills coming out of SnakeBite and Lucid. That's gonna be 2 kills on the board. Lucid also has camo, and they're closing in here towards Hydro.
Lucid finds the first kill in the Hydra there. Another player is back here for Optic Gaming. Another player is spotted. The Batwedge taking no shield. Last player alive will be in blue for Optic Gaming. A trade for Lucid. It's going to reward some good time here for SSG, but let's see how strong the setup, because we saw a perfect setup in Hill 1 from Optic Gaming.
And we're seeing some rare desperation there from Optic. You saw Renegade kind of caught in no man's land over that battery. He's trying to finish off that kill, giving up a staggered death. This is now 60% of the hill time here for Spacestation. They're close to tying this game up.
A good hold, Bound pushing long haul by himself, able to get taken down, but in the meantime, I believe the hill carrier does go down. SnakeBite starting to heat up, good shots, and now with an assist as well, this should be Spacestation tying this game 3 up.
Yeah, they know where one spawner is. They did not know that Formal was back there, but the kill gets traded out. Lucid wisely grabs hill time as well after hitting that out. Anytime you have that, such a great play there by Spacestation. One thing I want to say is that anytime you have a significant advantage, you have like a 3-on-1 scenario, you can keep somebody near the hill guy, and even if they get that surprise kill on the hill guy, you trade out the kill, grab the hill time. That's exactly what Spacestation did to secure that second hill.
An easy win condition, but the rotation towards the turbine was a failure for SSG. Optic Gaming get the early hill time as you see Formal plants his seed into this hill and is not really under a ton of pressure. A lot of SSG stuck in pipes, and this is a very difficult push for SSG, but with Lqgend going down, that's where the push will come.
Historically, we've seen this hill be a very vulnerable location where teams are already vying for elevator before they can decide to jump in the hill. Formal scooping up a significant amount of time for this hill, so let's see how Spacestation decide to react.
They get the kill over towards the elevator, but Lqgend's made his way to top Batwedge right now. There's multiple players pushing bottom middle as well. Lucid can't find home with any of the shots with shock rifle right now. Some solid damage, but in the meantime, Formal swooped up the camo from bottom middle. It tries to find some damage onto the player's top elevator, but I like this by Formal slowing this down. The hill is neutralized right now, and this is a massive fight to try and get P3.
And they know where all these players are. But just because you know they're all in there doesn't mean it's going to be easy kills. They're all stuck in this elevator, and you have to round this corner to get an angle on them. Looks like they do get picked off one by one. SnakeBite, the only one left out of elevator, makes his way towards pit, eventually taken out by Renegade.
And look, they were able to fight that combat loop as SSG was stuck in the back of the elevator in the hill. This hill already going towards Optic Gaming. You can see SSG slow this game down and play towards white and blue plat. That's where the hill will move next. But down once again in this game 3, tournament life on the line. Oh, and Optic's choosing to play time. They want to be able to rotate here.
I think they just don't either have the setup that they want for C-Plat, or they have the chance to drain this clock a ton. They can say, hey, we're in a position where this next C-Plat is open, and they could force Spacestation to move out of control and over long haul before grabbing this hill. Interesting strategic play here by Optic Gaming.
Yeah, and Renegade actually gets a kill. You see Lucid push over to top alley. That's the whole white-blue plat setup kind of broken. Lucid does pick up a kill, however, so he'll be able to rotate through white, but Lqgend behind enemy line sneaks through blue pipes, and SnakeBite's not going to expect this. Doesn't have the timing in his head. Nobody spots Lqgend, and the blue setup gets erased. Lqgend with a perfect flank after the second hill gets capped.
Yeah, SnakeBite thought he already did his clearing out there. He's like, all right, there's somebody down here at blue, but you got to think all these players are so slippery and so sneaky. Not going to be a time game, though, Wes. We see how Optic realizes that there's still 2 minutes on the clock. Not enough time to fully drain that, so they're going to be grabbing some C-Plat time, at least off the rip here.
Big kill onto Bound. Bound had camo. 3 go down for Optic Gaming, so immediately SSG break this setup. There is a player hiding back blue. Surely you clear this out. Surely you play for the last guy alive. We are not keeping track of names as well as we should be. If we're not going back blue after Legend, we have spotted him in blue earlier with the death of SnakeBite. A massive mistake as Legend able to poke out. He's able to get a kill, and the blue spawns will favor Optic Gaming now. And what a devastating mistake for SSG in such an important moment as Optic get back in the hill.
Yeah, what feels like it could have been a free stagger kill on the Legend instead turned into their whole setup getting ripped apart. Spacestation, just like you said, not tracking the exact names and exact spawns. And when some things are too good to be true, you have to check your back in Halo.
Game's not over yet, however. There is a player in blue that's hiding in the shroud, actually able to take down SnakeBite. Lucid finds a kill. I believe that was Legend, but it bought time for the rest of Optic Gaming to get here. Now a minute on the clock, things starting to get interesting time-wise as win conditions start to favor Optic further and further. 3 do go down for Optic. Legend first to respawn, of course. Should have good information that they will be stuck in pipes because you have elevator control as well. Halfway progress on this hill, you need kills right now if you're SSG.
Yeah, off the start of this hill, it made sense that Optic weren't willing to just slay it out. However, now there's only a minute left, there is a chance that if they get control again, that they might just only go for kills. But this hill is too close here for Spacestation. I don't think we'll be seeing this hill go to time.
This guy Long Haul is formal with a massive responsibility to try and kill SnakeBite. He's able to do so. That player double sight made that situation so chaotic. Optic able to get a couple of kills. Answered back 1 by Eco, but it's just SnakeBite to come off respawn here. They have to break this hill. You cannot go down 2 points with less than a minute on the clock and expect to stay in this game.
Optic putting the pressure on. They're gonna grab this hill time and see if they can force Spacestation to panic and charge. If they get one wipe here from Optic's side, they could get this third hill, which could be an absolute dagger to Spacestation Gaming. This could be devastating.
Can't get him out. Spacestation can't get Renegade out. Renegade stands strong. Renegade stands in the hill, and Renegade gets his team a 3-1 lead. 57 seconds remaining, and SSG on the ropes.
That one is painful. Considering how exposed this bottom center hill is, Spacestation not only have to get the kills, they have to grab this time, and they have to get another hill to tie this up. This one looks to be tough here, Wes.
SSG quietly in the night, they will go. Renegade, loud, proud, and on a killing spree. 31 seconds and ticking for Optic to find themselves advancing through the elimination bracket once again.
Look at that, just all his snipes connecting. And this is the Renegade that's the scariest, the one who's grappling around here on recharge, hitting shock rifle shots without a care in the world.
15 seconds, Optic have no intention of getting in the hill. Spacestation desperate for any sign of life, but desperation will not get you victories. Renegade will get you victories here. The shock rifle has found home so consistently for this Optic Gaming team throughout this game. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the decision by the Optic Gaming members to put the God Squad together pays off here. First time this year. And they will advance in the elimination bracket and await the winners finals match of FaZe and Shopify Rebellion.
And not a massive pop-up there from Optic. Partial respect to their former teammates. Partial saying, work's not done yet. Many matches to go for them to get the place that they want in this event.
Taking a look at the stats, Renegade, of course, who else would it be? It seems like he was on a mission this series, 21 and 14 here in game 3, and I feel like Renegade, he's done it all weekend long, but he continues to set the tone and to be the example of a champion here for this Optic Gaming roster as they move forward.
Yeah, I always wonder about different superstars and how they're playing each day. Renegade, like you said yesterday, stepped it up harder than anyone else on Optic, and then today, without doubt, the best player. If he continues this is going to be a tough road for any teams that they're playing against.
The road only gets harder as you continue to advance through the elimination bracket. Keep in mind, Shopify versus FaZe in our winners finals. The loser of that series is going to run into a very hot Optic, someone that came from all the way from losers 1 to get to where they are now in elimination finals, and not an Optic Gaming I want to run into. I think I'd rather take the easier road of why don't we just win winners finals, because like I said, we've said it all series, all tournament long, when this Optic Gaming team gets hot, and they look hot, they do bad things to teams.
Yeah. Just kicking off that one. Look at them, those highlights from this game number 3. Renegade started with some grapple plays and ended it with some grapple plays.
Tough to start a game with your SnakeBite on the right foot when you're getting spawn killed by shock rifle camo with formal, but the battle for power, I mean, Optic had such starting strats games 2 and 3 that just put them in such promising positions. Even though maybe game 2 didn't start off so significantly in Optic's favor, they were in a great position with Renegade top tower with snipe. That's all you could ever ask. Good things usually happen, and eventually, then if you fool me once, you're able to take down Renegade the first time, but the second time Renegade got top tower, the lead got out of control. And this hill fight, I mean, it was incredible. Both players for Optic Gaming jumping up on that little circuit box and getting to see plat the same route could easily have gotten hit by a single frag, and we could be still watching some SSG versus Optic gameplay.
Yeah,
but neither one of them gets hit by a nade. Great teamwork, and to stand in the hill with camo and be such a difficult target. You know players are ADS across the map trying to shoot you, but such a difficult ask of any player, even the best in the world. And Renegade makes the play that solidifies his team moving on.
Yeah, securing that C-plat, the draining time over at the Needler Hill, everything's just played so well from there. I mean, you and I have broken it down, though. I actually want to hear from the horse's mouth himself. Blaze, he's down there with formal. Take it away.